will switch into English because, as far as I understand, the major kind of part of the audience is supposed to be at least foreign investors, and that's why maybe they would prefer me speaking English. First of all, I would like to point out that there were some significant changes this year about the royalties or subsoil tax. It was decreased from the level of 55%, memory doesn't fail me, to 29% for all the private or so-called independent producers. And even for Naftogaz as a state-owned company, it was decreased from 70% to 50%. So again, we can see some progress. Of course, one would mention that basically the rent or this royalty tax just decreased to the previous level, so it was increased and then decreased back, so it's not like it is really decreased. Given that we see the gas prices going down and oil prices going down, it's a good thing for the economy, but of course for investors in gas production and oil production, it means that they probably expect a further decrease in royalty tax. We as Naftogaz point out that we really need to develop local production because we want to achieve complete independence from any gas imports as of 2020. And in order to achieve it, first of all, we need to increase production, like by 30%, and decrease consumption roughly by the same number. In order to decrease production by 30%, we should invest much more, and we should attract, again, investors into this sector. That means that the royalty tax should be further decreased, and we even suggested that there should be like a 0% royalty tax for all the new licenses. And the state can, again, get necessary proceeds or income for the state budget through the transparent and competitive sale of the licenses through auctions, rather than through, again, some subsoil tax or additional profit tax, whatever. And we think that in such a way, people will invest more in gas production. The government will have more in terms of value-added tax, standard profit tax, and again, they will have an additional revenue stream from selling licenses. That's about this particular issue of taxation. In terms of changing rules, of course I agree that there should be some consistency and stability, but if we are talking about radical reforms and we are talking about some very bad practice that we used to have in the past, probably again changing it is a good thing. And investors, at least I have the understanding that they were expecting for these changes, they have been just expecting for these changes for the last 2 decades at least. So probably it's about time to start doing something, not just continue talking about necessary reforms. And that is why, again, I mean, taxation should be changed. We should continue to create an efficient gas market in Ukraine. We should give a credit to the previous government and to the current government that they're doing something. We do think that it's not enough, but at least we should recognize the achievements. For example, since the last conference, we can now say that we have at least a single price for all the household needs. It means for municipal heating enterprises and for regional distribution companies. It decreases arbitrage opportunities, or simply speaking, corruption. It also, again, makes the whole market more attractive for international investors because the market gets much bigger. If previously they were able to sell only to industrial consumers, and it was just like, let's say, 1/3 of the market, so now they can sell that to the entire market. Also, for example, speaking of unbundling, at least there is a very clear plan as suggested by Energy Community Secretariat, and we understand that there is a consensus among all the international partners of Ukraine, including guys like Paul from BRD and again other important stakeholders. We as Naftogaz fully support this plan, and we're ready to start realizing this plan tomorrow. Of course, the government should approve it, but at least now we have this consensus. So we spent again 1 year on not very productive discussions, unfortunately, but finally again we have a consensus. Also, for example, I can mention that the gas market law adopted last year was at least partially implemented. So we have some secondary legislation supporting this market development in certain aspects. In certain aspects it's counterproductive. So, for example, unfortunately, we failed to implement European network codes because they were not obligatory for Ukraine, and nobody was pushing for that. But it's very difficult to implement one thing or one part of the European kind of, how to say, market design, and to forget about the other part, which makes the first part not efficient. Also, I would mention in terms of, again, some positive developments over the last year, that finally we got rid of at least critical dependence on Russian gas supplies. Again, this winter we lived without Russian gas supplies, and we were perfectly fine. We were able to secure even a lower price than offered by Russians. It also, again, makes the whole market more sustainable, I would put it this way. So, just to sum it up, I think that, again, we have to change a lot. We have to be much faster and much more radical or fundamental about these changes. But at the same time, again, there is at least some progress that should encourage investors, if not to invest, but at least to be very careful about not losing opportunities, and again, thinking about the right time to enter this market, to reap the advantages of like a first mover, and just again a reasonable yet agile investor.